So cholesterol number 3. I've spoken in my first video on cholesterol about some of the basics, about studies and registries and omega-3 fish oil and fiber, I believe. In number 2, I talked about genetic predispositions, blood testing, and now I want to just talk more basic, what I usually will tell my patients in the office. So this is my McDonald's 2011 steak, egg, and cheese bagel. I remember when I first bought it, it was leaking. In the first year, it leaked out a lot of the oil. Still smelled pretty decent, but after about 12 months, the oil in the bag started to stink. So I did have to keep it in the garage. So I guess it was kind of cool in the garage during a Chicago winter, but it was also excessively hot during a Chicago summer. So the fact that it still is alive now and looks pretty fresh is pays homage to the fact that you guys who are hell-bent on eating this stuff, and I was there too, you got to be careful about what you're eating. And just because it's preserved doesn't mean that you will be preserved if you eat it. You will be dead if you eat it. So please try to be cautious about what you're eating, because it does reflect eventually into a disease process. Walter Willett is the guy who came up with the Mediterranean diet suggestions, put a food pyramid together for Mediterranean diet. Walter Willett is a physician out of Harvard, and he has an old book. This is Eat, Drink, and Weigh Less, but he has nice recipes in here. He has nice concepts on and quotes of studies on having a Mediterranean diet decrease chances of overall mortality from cancer, heart attack, stroke, prediabetes. So good information if you don't mind the read. A little bit dry compared to some other books. However, again, the idea with cholesterol is it's a marker. It's a marker that physicians use to kind of figure if you're in harm's way. But you know what's more obvious than that is if you're obese, if you're shortened of breath, and if my history says that you're not exercising, working 70 hours a week, have no relaxation practice, and eat only when you get home, I mean, that's a marker to me that something's going on. So if we're just going to talk about the black and whites of following metrics like blood testing, then we'll talk about cholesterol. So my first 2 videos will give you some ideas about cholesterol, how to get rid of it, and a couple things that you might want to take into play. But the basics are that if you have an elevated cholesterol, you want to try to switch off of an animal-based diet onto a whole food, mostly plant-based diet. Now, Loren Cordain and the paleo diet, there's a lot of quotes in his books from, or I should say anecdotes from people who have done the paleo and have done very well with following the concept. To me, that concept is acceptable, but I just don't believe that you have to avoid grain and legumes. In fact, if you, there are great, he quotes a lot of studies, and again, the people who I've talked to on the paleo love it, and that's fine. But if you look at if you look at Buettner's information on the blue zones, he went and did a population study to figure out where the people that lived on Earth to 100 years of age or more were concentrated. He found 5 blue zones. Blue zones are those areas where on the map it's circled in a blue pen to find people that were gathering and hit 100 years of age or more. And he tried to link, it's a great book by the way, Blue Zones, and he tried to figure out what was the reverberating practice of life in those 5 areas. Loma Linda, Sardinia, a place in Costa Rica, Icaria, and Okinawa. And there was a mostly whole food, plant-based nutrition practice. There's a lot of walking. There was a lot of family-centered values. Everybody would eat at the same time. Grandparents would take care of great-grandkids. There would always be some sense of purpose. I have to, if I was a grandpop, I'd have to be the guy who drives the kids to school or cooks the breakfast, or there's something that you have to do. Versus the opposite, where you just go to a nursing home, you sleep whenever you sleep, you get up and walk or watch TV, which is bad. That's just not healthy. So the idea with cutting out grain is okay for starters, but I really think that if you look at where people lived to 100 or more years of age or more, they ate grain. Especially Costa Rica, they ate a lot of corn. So the information, I think, if you look at population studies, says you can partake in that. You can partake in legumes. And again, it's changed now because of the advent of nasty food around us and what I like to call the standard American diet and our weapon of mass destruction going to other countries and causing obesity there. But if we're looking at lowering cholesterol, I think that sometimes adding fiber to your diet, and I'll put the links to my 3 fiber videos, adding fiber to your diet, if you stick with it for at least 2 weeks, you'll get past the bloating, the gassiness, because if your gut hasn't tasted fiber in a while, you're going to experience that, and you'll start to feel satiety. You'll start to feel better, not so hungry. And if you keep on going for 90 to 120 days, then you'll really start to love the taste of this stuff. And the more stuff that you kind of wedge in as far as fiber, whether it's whole grains like I'm cooking in this rice cooker, I'm cooking millet here, and I'll put a link to my Fiber 3 video. This is millet. This is my favorite Archer Farms assorted nuts by Target, non-salted. They also have this at Sam's Club. It has pistachio in it, and they also have it at Costco. And pretty crunchy. So great flavors with this combination. The harvest of the season, it's summer now, is also very good to take advantage of. So you have a lot of options. If you get this stuff in with your food, then usually what the concept of fiber in your gut is fiber doesn't really get absorbed. There's lignans that are in fiber that are very helpful for cancer fighting, especially the colon. But because the fiber doesn't get absorbed, you have more bulk in your stool. When you have more bulk in your stool, it actually acts as a detox. Kind of like charcoal when you have food poisoning or when you have an overdose in the emergency room. We give charcoal because charcoal doesn't get absorbed. It sucks in all the toxins that the suicide attempt person took in, and it puts all that poison out in the poop. Same thing with fiber. It'll make your stools bulky and beefier. And after about, again, 2 weeks, you'll be used to that, and the gas will go down, and the bloating will go down, and all the cholesterol will go out. So what better way to get rid of cholesterol than to poop it out? And the only way to do that is to increase your fiber. I have a couple patients that just don't like fruits, and that's okay, but there's a whole bunch of vegetables. If you go down the green aisle in Jewel Osco and what used to be Dominic's, you'll see a pretty decent length of green and vegetable in different colors. If you go to Whole Foods, if you go to other fancy stores that have even wider variety, you'll be able, or even a Chinese market, you'll see great varieties of different types of the same product. Different types of broccoli, different types of cabbage. There's a lot of options that are out there, but if you're not well versed with cooking, then you might have to learn a little bit from either a nutritionist, from internet, from watching TV, or taking a culinary class in your local college. But that would be the best way to offset a high cholesterol level, is to take the fiber in. The other thing to do, and I don't have any models here, is to also increase your omega-3. The standard American diet, processed food especially, is a little bit low on omega-3. Not a little bit, it's very low on omega-3. It's very high in omega-6. So you're actually eating a pro-inflammatory diet. That leads to oxidation, that leads to higher LDLs. With higher LDLs from ApoB, those are all proteins, you'll have more deposition into the blood vessel walls, the endothelium, and with one streak of fat and or tear in the intima or the lining of the endothelium, you'll have just a cake on. You'll have cake on fat and more fat and platelets, and then you get a plug, a thrombus, and then that's a heart attack. So lowering LDL will be important. Raising HDL will be important, and sometimes the easiest way to do all that is to get on an anti-inflammatory supplement. So if you eat crappy food, then at least if you have anything that's crappy, try to neutralize this stuff with either the fiber or omega-3. And even if you have fish 2 or 3 times a week, I would still partake of omega-3 supplement. There's only one omega-3 supplement that's covered by insurance companies. It's called Lovaza. It is very well tolerated. I would still say freeze the capsule, as I'll put a link to in my fish video. Freeze the capsule so it prevents that burping problem that a lot of people get with omega-3 fish oil. And You also want to make sure that if you buy omega-3 fish oil on your own, because Lovasa is not covered under your insurance, you look for a total omega-3 of 2,000 milligrams in a serving. So I suggest 2,000 milligrams per day. I think most people will tolerate that. I tolerate that. Lovasa is 2,000 milligrams twice a day. That's a lot. But the studies have shown if you crank up the omega-3, it'll neutralize your omega-6 and your oxidation will go down. Your cholesterol might also go down as well, in addition to having fiber to pull it out. But to find out how much total omega-3 is in your capsule or serving of the omega-3 fish oil you take, you have to read the labels. Total omega-3 is a combination of EPA and DHA. EPA and DHA are what you want into the 1,000 range. It doesn't matter which is which. If one is higher, usually it's EPA that's higher and DHA is lower, but you want that total number to be about 1,000 to 2,000. In many cases, you'll have those two oils in addition to other oils, and it might not amount to too much. If you're using omega-3 for other reasons, like to be happy, take care of depression, take care of inflammation, take care of joint problems, then I guess you don't have to maximize to the 2,000 milligrams a day that I suggest. But if you're on it, then might as well maximize and to whatever you can tolerate. Again, freezing the capsule will take away the majority of the burping and indigestion issues, and then getting a good quality. So I have my favorites. I'll put the list of my favorites here. It's always changing depending on what information is coming forth from the different companies, but you can research on your own. I've actually called the three companies on my own and asked to speak with the R&D department. So I'm very impressed that actually there is an R&D department that answers your phone call. For now, food products, I actually talked to the nutritionist in the factory or in the wherever the 800 number takes me, and they offered me to go and check out their facility. No pictures, of course, but that was pretty cool. So I think when you have somebody, a company that's very transparent, that's reassuring to me. You also have to have them kind of tested by independent companies. I like consumer labs. So there's different ways to get it. As long as you know what you're looking for, you can lower cholesterol with fiber. You can increase your